Good evening, everyone. How is everyone? Very warm here. Welcome to the live stream. The crypto roast has gone to the beach. Not gonna lie, that'd be nice. Very warm here in the UK at the moment, has been for the couple of weeks. That's probably one of the reasons why I haven't done a lot of streaming. I've had every intention of live streaming over the past probably few weekends, but it's just been too hot, and it's too hot today. But I just thought I need to, because I want to get back to the grind. And the thing with like English houses and UK houses is that they're made out of brick. They're actually designed to keep heat in, and we don't have air conditioning. So that's why I think we tend to struggle a bit in this heat, especially like no sort of breeze or wind. And the room I'm in at the minute is like at the top of the house, so it's probably like a 35-degree room here. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, probably about 78, 80 maybe. But I'll persevere. So if you see me glistening, probably why. Eric, hello. John's Phalanx, hello. Don't know if that's you. How's it going? Hello. It was too hot for me to paint today. Just got a dreadnought primed. I don't blame you. Luckily, sort of the first half of the day's been quite cool, like cool enough to be able to do some painting, but like the second half, been quite difficult. Even with a wet palette, like the paint destroys so quickly. I'll talk about what I've been working on, like with the channel and my own sort of personal hobby as well. I'm not sure what the internet's going to be like. It's been really patchy the past few days, so I'm sorry if there's any kind of delay. And OBS seems to want to play up as well. Keeps wanting to close. So hopefully you can all hear me well enough. See, that's already starting to lag a bit. But we'll push through it. There's nothing I can do. I've tried everything. I've even knocked down the streams to 720. But it's just generally, I think it's the internet at the moment. Chris, hello. NASA, nice seeing the live stream. It's probably your first stream. I know you've become a member recently. You became a member for the last stream, if I remember. I appreciate you being here. Just let me know if the lag is off-putting for you guys, but hopefully you can hear me clearly enough. Thinking what I can do. But I thought I had dealt with it. I don't know if the heat affects the internet or not. But there's nothing else running on my computer. I don't think taking the overlay off is going to do anything. But again, hello everyone. I hope everyone's well. I know it's been a few weeks. As I say, I've had every intention to live stream before now, but it's just been really hot, humid, and even now starting to sweat a bit, just because like the lights and the laptop and stuff. Give me a minute. I'm going to put you on the right back screen just for a couple of minutes, just so I can check some settings. Just because OBS has done a lot of updating, so I just want to make sure stuff. So I do apologise. Give me 1 minute. Okay, I'm back. It really is just an OBS issue. What I'll do before the next stream, I'll probably install it and reinstall it. Crazy how it's still... Again, hello everyone. Get started in a minute. Give people a chance to sort of get in. And I don't really want to turn off the webcam either. Might just be that it's just really hot and the laptop's struggling. But I don't have issues about the heat. Generally fine. So, Hal Haggis, hello. Chris N, for me it's clear and in sync, loud and clear. Okay, good. Hopefully it might just be my end. Hello Stephen, good to have you back. So yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going on since the last stream. I've obviously tried out weekly content, which has been great. And I would carry on doing that, but it's just, I want to try different things as well. But I'll show you what I've been doing personally first. So I know the last stream I talked about the Terminators. And I finally finished them. Oh, Eric, thank you so much. Hi Michael, my son and I just finished a squad of Bad Moon Flash Gits and I've followed your advice. Thanks for the help. By the way, what's your favourite Orc clan? My favourite Orc clan is the Freebooters. And the Flash Gits are probably my favourite Orc kit and miniatures and design. I just love that whole pirate aesthetic. I've always hoped that they would sort of develop that range even more. But yeah, I've always wanted to do that tutorial since I started the channel. I mean, it's still one of my favorites. Yeah, Freeboot is probably my favorite clan. I do have a Goth army, which you can see in one of my videos on the channel where I talk about my collection. I've got some plans to do some Freeboot version, but that's sort of like next year. I've had a big break from Orcs, but I'm very eager to get back to them. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Glad you were able to paint some Flash Gits. Because they're really fun to paint, but I know how intimidating they can be. But they look amazing tabletop once you get them done. But yeah, Freeboot is my favourite clan, but I do have a Goth army. Just because they're probably easy to quick. Okay, so I've been trying to work on Imperial Fest for a while now, all this year. And these are done, as I said before, these are done exactly the same way as the way I've done them for the Kill Team video, so using pretty much contrast paint. So this is the Sergeant. So for the Power Sword, I originally wanted to do the lightning effect, but I think I just sort of lost the motivation to do any more with these, because I've been on my shelf for a while. I just thought, how can I do it with contrast paint? So I just kind of used Athematic Blue, gave it a shimmer. Same on that side as well. That's just painting some Athematic Blue in those areas, sort of a quick effect. I didn't really know what to do. As you see, I've done the green base with the flock, sort of like the retro style, because they're quite a vibrant colour scheme. But I went but I think the green really helps. Really happy. I can't get the five Terminators there. I don't know if I've shown these guys before, but I finished these. Furnace. These are just some. So all these miniatures are from the starter set, like the push bit. And the only difference between these guys and the Terminators on these, but from the Kill Team video, show you how to do the chip in and the scratches, which I've done on these guys, but I haven't for the Terminators. I don't know, I haven't decided if I want to do the scratches and the chips on these yet. But I'm thinking back, if you look at the old sort of Imperial Fist, like the 3rd edition, 2nd edition sort of era, where they're bright with the green bases, they don't really have the chips because they're not really set out to be grimy. But I left it because that can be added later. As I say, I've got 5 of those, 5 Terminators. Something else I managed to find time to do is a Terminator Captain, Terminator Chaplain. Again, it's just contrast paints with highlights. This is why highlighting is important. If you want to know how to do purity seals like this, just go watch my Ultramarine Captains tutorial where I'll show you how you can use transfers. There's actually transfers you get on the sheet that are designed to be stuck onto purity seals that are small enough. That's all I've done on that guy. And I just did a quick sort of attempt at some text field. But I am happy with this guy. Again, he didn't really take that long to paint. Probably painted him a day, maybe a day and a half. Very basic contrast. And now the next project is Tor Garadon, which we'll be working on. I'm definitely not going to be anywhere near finishing this guy in the stream, but I'm sort of making a start. I've obviously done the yellow armor. It's just the Imperial Fist contrast paint, then my really thin down wash of Cassandra yellow will help bring out the details. I've done black leaf. You know what, I'm going to leave that aperture. Yeah, so I've used Black Legion, got to paint the ribbon and the armor. The chest eagle, I forgot what I used for the chest on these guys. I think I used Lupus Pink and Blood Angels Contrast, but on here I ended up using Bile Red and Volupus Pink. Wasn't right, it ended up being quite dark. But once I've highlighted it, it should be fine, because I think I had originally with you guys. Not an issue. If you're interested in how I did the sub-assemblies for Tor Garadon, I actually did a live stream where we did the we made the sub-assemblies on together. I went into depth how to do it. And this is obviously cape. I was very interested to get that dark colour, not a very bright colour for the like shoulder cape. This is, I think it's Flesh Tearer's red, and I've thinned down a silicanum grey with contrast medium, like a 50 mix. Put that over just to darken it. Quite happy with. So we'll do some work on that Tor Garadon talking, but I don't know if you can guys, but I'm quite happy with how these look at the minute together. They're not too difficult to sort of put together and paint. As I say, I've had these sitting on my shelves for a while now. About time I do some stuff. Moving forward, because I don't really get much time to do my own stuff, I kind of want to treat the live streams as a way to sort of get my own sort of hobby pushed forward. Even if just a little bit, it sort of creates momentum, rather than just sort of sitting off to the side a bit. So let's, before we focus on Tor Garadon, like, talk about what's going on with the channel and what are the plans for the future. I've sort of announced that in the thumbnail. We'll start with the next tutorial. I've obviously shown channel members and patrons, but I think there isn't a lot of people who watch the live stream, so I think as a little reward I'm going to show you what I'm working on. There's probably a lot of members and patrons. So previously I've been doing weekly content, which I've really enjoyed, and that's fine. It was definitely sort of different skill set to sort of producing the kind of content I was producing every other week, because I had to sort of find a way to produce a video every week, which I never thought I was capable of doing until now. It's actually made things more accessible to do other things in the future. So I've got hair on my nose. I just get random hairs everywhere. So I am moving away from weekly videos, because although it's more rewarding, you guys get more content. It doesn't actually change things YouTube algorithm, which was the main point of the videos. Because I thought the compromise on shorter videos, even what I was putting into them, was the compromise for maybe bigger outreach. In some ways it was good, but it sort of dropped again. I don't really know what my point is though, but another decision I've made is to go back to the bi-weekly videos, because I want to work on different kinds of content as well, which I'll talk about in a minute. So the past 3 weeks you've obviously had the Horus Heresy Legion tutorials, so you've had the Salamanders, Iron Warriors and Sons of Horus. Really proud of. I just wish I watched them. Fortunately it's probably going to be a while before I do any kind of Horus Heresy schemes moving forward, just they weren't picked up as well, so it kind of showed a lack of interest. But that's not to say I won't do it in the future. I think I kind of have to sort of stick with what's popular for the next couple of months. sort of help the channel grow, sort of drop in, fortunately, worrying. I think there's just a lull in the hobby at the minute anyway. Yeah, so Steve in the box did only go up for pre-order this weekend, so hopefully it does help. That's why I chose to do Salamanders and Iron Warrior for us with this box set. Like they're the three sort of top tier that most people want to do. I thought there might be interest when the box was first announced. People to sort of get ready for this box to come. I just don't know how enthusiastic people are. But it's like a £200 box. But I'm glad I did those tutorials, and I'm sure they'll pick up eventually. But I'm interested in investing in going back to the bi-weekly videos, so I can spend more time on them then. It can become the longer form videos again, instead of like the 8-minute long video, go back to sort of like 15, or get more out of the video. But the video I'm working on now, like as I say, the members and Patreon, what I'm working on, and I've had a lot of requests over this over the months and a couple of years since they've come out, and it's Votan. I have been wanting to paint some Votan for a while. I just didn't know how popular it was. I was looking at what's already available out there in terms of painting tutorials, and actually no one's really covered how to paint them in the box art scheme with this sort of green and really light teal colour for the armour. So I wanted to challenge myself. I looked at the heavy metal recipe that like the studio sort of scheme for it as well, and it's very in-depth and convoluted, if I'm going to be honest. A lot of mixes. So I spent a whole day sort of doing a lot of testing to figure out how to simplify it, and I think I managed it finally. I won't tell you what the how I've painted it. I'm just going to show you, because obviously I want you to watch the tutorial. This guy isn't finished yet. I'm working on the highlights at the minute. So this tutorial is going to be out next weekend, so it'll be out next Sunday. Exosuit. And the reason I've chosen to paint the exosuit is just so I can show you sort of a way to paint armor. I know like there's this sort of dark teal color for the armor on vehicles and stuff. More interesting miniature paint than just sort of an infantry model. And I've still been able to sort of show you how to paint the fatigues and like the chest armor. I was just able to cover a lot more. Weapon. That was the decision. That. But I'm really happy with how this guy's coming along again. Took a lot of work to sort of figure out how to get this guy painted to look like the box art, but not have to do it, not have to follow the studio recipe. Definitely a lot better the way I'm doing. So I look forward to that. But I'll probably have an edit for that guy, hopefully Wednesday, but at the latest Thursday. Will go up on Patreon and to channel members. So if you can't wait till next Sunday, you'll be able to sort of join those, get access to that early during the week. That's one thing I've been working on. The next thing is I don't know how people are going to react to it. As I said before, I wanted to move to like a weekly video format, but it didn't kind of work out the way I'd hoped it would. So, what I'm going to be doing moving forward, I am going to be producing what I would call paid content, I suppose. So it'll be exclusive content for Patreon members and channel members, but they'll also be purchasable by people who aren't member or patron. I'm going to call it the character series. These videos aren't going to be videos that I would have ever done for the channel normally, and the channel is still going to get 2 videos a month, just like it used to. So no one's missing out. I'm just producing an extra video a month for us. So the first character series video, and you'll probably guess sort of the theme for the first few videos, going to be Gulliman. So these videos are going to be available to the elite tier, the heavy tier, and the channel members. So that's any tier from, it's either the £4 tier for the Patreon and the £4 tier for the YouTube membership, and this I think it's £8 tier for the heavy. It won't be available for the £2 tier. If you wanted to pay for these tutorials individually, they'll be costed at £3. But obviously you'll only get that tutorial, whereas if you support me through Patreon or membership, you'll get access to this tutorial and future tutorials at those platforms. Just because I need to pay bills, and we all know sort of like the economy's not great at the minute and everything's getting more expensive. So it's just a way to sort of support the channel some more. So I hope people can understand that. When I do make these videos, I'll obviously explain why I'm doing it, because I'm going to be honest with you, I've always thought I would never do paid content. I never liked the idea. I always thought that the money I would get from creating the channel is going to be manageable. It's not, because it's just becoming more difficult, especially as more painting channels get pushed on YouTube. But I feel like now the quality of content and the painting that I can achieve, I feel like people wouldn't be upset if I charged for some content just to help support the channel. But that's the only reason. I wouldn't do it otherwise. So I hope people understand. But it also means that I can produce videos and content that I don't have to worry about being more cost effective. So like for a YouTube video, I would always try and make sure, I want to make a YouTube video a minute, basically covers the cost of the miniatures that I paint in that video, and that's kind of like the money it makes back. And then only after like 3 months later will that video start generating excess income, help support the rest of what I need. So that's the reality of it. It's literally just covering its own costs at the minute. So being able to doing this for obviously Patreon and channel memberships, hopefully it's going to encourage more people to join those platforms and support the channel. But it also means that when you do support the channel, you're getting some back, not just getting tutorials early, like superficial things. You're actually getting something more tangible. Um, as I say, I'm treating it as like a character series. I've got in mind the sort of videos that I want to do for it. So the first video is going to be Guilliman. And the next video after this is going to be the Lion. I've always wanted to cover painting the Primarch, but they're just massive projects. It would take up a lot of time, energy to do. I wouldn't just be able to fit them in an 8-minute video or a 20-minute video. Well, the tutorials that I make for supporters will look a bit different to each video. They're not going to be as edited. What you're seeing right now, in fact, so we'll just get rid of this browser. So this is basically what the tutorial is going to be. It's going to be more in depth, and I can spend a bit more time talking about the techniques rather than doing a bit of painting and cutting away. You'll get to hear more about my thoughts on how to do things. So you get more of a sort of in-person sort of commentary rather than a voiceover. That's the idea anyway. So this will be the format of the tutorial. Kind of like generally what other people's tutorials look like on YouTube, where they sort of paint on camera and they'll talk while painting. Like Warhipster's a very good example of this sort of format really well. Whereas my videos are very sort of edited, obviously. So they are going to look different because they're going to be a lot easier to edit as well. I don't have to sort of worry about putting in overlays and shots of. It's going to be a bit more relaxed, I suppose. It's kind of just to sort of inviting you in for a painting lesson rather than it being a video. That makes. That's the idea anyway. So some of the videos in my mind that I would like to do for this, so Guilliman and the Lion are definitely the first two videos. So Guilliman I'm hopefully going to have up by the end of this month. I'm going to get started on Guilliman where I've painted the Thunderkin. And next month it's going to be the Lion. Then I've decided after that it might change. I've got in mind to do Magnets, just because of Thousand Suns have been quite popular on the channel. Like the video's done really well. I feel like there's a lot of Thousand Sun enjoyers, so I think Magnus is a good choice. But it's not just going to be the Primarchs. I've also got in mind to do sort of some of the special characters from other factions as well. So I want to do the Null Emissary Tyranids. I also want to do the character from Necrons. I can't remember it, but the woman in like the big floating. Someone can let me know his name. But I think that'd be quite a challenge. So it's just like the big stuff that would be too much to do for the channel. And I will probably do Ghazghkull for that as well. I've painted Ghazghkull for myself, but I will happily do Ghazghkull Thraka. Orcs are obviously quite popular for the channel. I do plan on doing more orcs for the channel by the end of but along with the paid content here, I want to do sort of complimentary videos for the channel as well. So after the Thunderkin, I'll be doing the Blade Guard for the channel. And then when I do the Lion, there'll be a video for the Inner Circle. So I don't feel like you'll be missing out if you can't get hold of these tutorials, because they'll be very specialised tutorials anyway, very sort of situational. Not everybody's going to Guilliman. For those who want to paint Guilliman, will be there if they want to support the channel. The general sort of painting tutorial, sort of like how to paint faction, they'll still go on the main channel. As you can see up here, there we go. I've still got this up here, so when we reach 50 members, I'll do an Imperial night for the channel. So hopefully that'll go up pretty quickly once there's an offering of tutorials. Hal Haggis, George Wright, hello, welcome to the stream. Good to see you again. Hal Haggis, I guess it'll be because of Thousand Suns and Space Marine game, the popular just now. That makes sense. That's why I kind of want to do the Blade Guard as well. Gaz was really fun to paint. Recently bought Mortarion, but I've not started him yet. Mortarion is a big project that I would like to do as well, but he'll probably be next year, along with some updated Death Guard videos. And doing tutorials, this, I know I'm just worried because I know might be a bit of backlash. But I think, as I say, like, be able to purchase these tutorials for £3, which I don't think a lot, considering you have to pay for the miniatures already. Price of like a copy of these, and that tutorial will be yours. You'll be have access to that tutorial forever. Well, actually, I won't say that. As long as it's on a platform somewhere, you'll have access to it. But probably won't make it downloadable, but you'll have access to it. I don't know how that'll work. So yeah. One thing I wanted to talk about though with the Gulliman is how many sub-assemblies I've ended up doing for him. I wasn't expecting any sub-assemblies. I hope you all enjoy me just rambling. I know it's been a while. I'm going to be doing a lot of talking. But if anyone's watching and you've got questions, just throw them at me and interrupt me. I'll answer any question you have about your hobby. Say anything, feel free. This is a great time for us to interact with each other. Catch up with each other. I am definitely gonna commit to doing more live streams. As I say, I wanted to do more live streams, but it's been tough with the weather as well. And I'm gonna be honest, like, my head hasn't been in the game. Been really just sort of motivation sort of dipped. One of the things that's helped sort of get me out of that is changing up with a bit, because I just really want to make this, the channel and the content that I create, a career and a full-time thing myself. I've been pushing the past few years now, still tough, still trying to sort of make it work. So yeah, there's a lot of separate parts for Gulliman, and it's just because of his armor's so detailed. So for like with this chest piece here, if it was stuck on, you'd miss out on all these pipes and other details. It'd be tough to get into the ribbon under there. Otherwise I would have just done. And because it's a character level, you want a character level sort of paint job, you want to make sure it's as good as it can be. If you think about it, you're not painting anything more than you would normally. The only extra work you'll be doing is when you're assembling this, putting the sub-assemblies together. Another frustrating place that I didn't really want to do sub-assemblies was on the legs. But again, you've got details that'll be under the armor that you will be able to see, that you won't be able to get through the brush so easily. But the sub-assemblies as well will just make it easier to show you guys how to paint as well. One thing I have decided though, when I've produced these videos, I do plan on creating shorts from them, doing quick shorts of this content, which I will put on the channel just to sort of help push the main videos. So although you won't know how to paint everything, you won't get a painting lesson, but at least sort of get an idea of how to paint certain details, which is my compromise, I suppose. This was a tough piece to sort of figure out what to do with. I'll go in the video, I'll go into detail about what sub-assembly. I'll give you a little sneak peek. So with this piece here, there's like a post back of his back where that fits in. So the obvious thing to do was just making a post out of a sprue. You don't even need, like with something like that, you can put it in snugly. Won't be. So I was happy with my choice of that. This is another piece I had to think about. So I could have stuck this to or stuck it to the backpack. But what I did instead, something I sort of figured out, is that with the cocktail stick you can sort of drill a little hole. So I drilled a little hole in the barrel. That can then sit on. Thinking. So I did it with the chest here just because that's awkward, like the shape here. As you can see, I drilled a little hole. Fits on a cocktail stick quite nice. I've just super glued the cocktail stick. And it works. So traditionally you do a pin, but I don't like using it. With the cocktail stick, because the end's tapered, it doesn't matter how big the hole is, eventually it's going to be able to sort of wedge it in there, be more secure than a pin. Cocktail sticks are a lot cheaper than, won't ruin your clippers. So that's Guilliman. That is video I'll be working on after the thing, but that will become exclusive to supporters for all the various reasons shared with you. I need to pay my bills and I want to grow the channel. As well, shortly, I'm not sure when, I have been working on another channel, a lore channel. I've already shared the video with channel members and patrons, but that's something I've been working on for the past few months. I think it's going to eventually happen, hopefully in the next months. Just sort of working on more content before that goes live. But look forward to that. That's just another avenue. But again, if you're a patron or member, you'll see all that content early as well. You'll sort of be supporting TableTopReady and your channel as well. Getting really humid in here now. Blaggart would love another painting all three of the mega knobs in yellow. Would you like 3 different styles, or just the 3 Mega Knobs painted yellow? I don't know if you're talking about the original yellow Mega Knob armor I did. I'm going to be honest with you, I wouldn't change a single thing about that tutorial. That's how I'd still paint it. Same with the Evil Sun's armor, Mega Knob armor. Again, if you're watching, if you've got any questions, ask away. No silly question. And just let me know what you're working on as well. I'd say that's what I've done over the past. That's literally what I've done last week. To be fair, 'cause it's been quite a busy. Sort of getting ready with the Gullman, finishing off the Thunderkin. I'm working on other content. But as I say, TableTopReady is still obviously the main priority. So you shouldn't see less content on this channel. You'll still get the 2 videos every month. King Mink, about to have dinner and dive into Tyranid Warriors Prime Pink. Good luck. Enjoy your dinner. I had pizza today. Isidore Orion 04. Hello. Hope everyone's well. I wonder if 6 o'clock's too early. Trying to do different slots. I think I started at 7 last night. I kind of know that a lot of people catch this later on rather than watching it live. Hopefully it's good listening while you're painting. But if you are watching this after the fact, after it is live, I do encourage you to come in while it is live. As I say, it's a good opportunity to sort of talk to me, question, sort of get that interaction as well. As I say, we've got Tor Garadon. The first thing I kind of want to do, I just need to do a bit of cleaning up and get ready for a few of the contrasts. Mink, no worries. Enjoy your dinner. Hopefully, are you gonna eat dinner while watching? Blagger, you could do a critique of our miniatures. That's something I have done, and that's something I am going to do. I want to make sure I get back into the rhythm of streaming. So what month are we in now? We're in July. So I think gonna aim towards the end of September. We'll do a subscriber share of miniatures and what you're working on. Do a live stream showing people work. It won't necessarily be a critique, but it'll be a showcase, which I've always enjoyed. So yeah, the next one, I probably would have done one by now, but I have had a few weeks of not live streaming. But now I want to get back into it. I think September will be the next time I'll do a miniature showcase. But I'll obviously announce that closer to the time and how you can share your miniatures. And you can do that anyway. You can sort of email me or share it in the Reddit. Medieval gaming, I'm late. What happened so far? I've literally talked about everything that I'm going to do, what I have done, everything. So now I've revealed the secrets of the universe. I work on Tor Garadon. I'll do another quick recap before we finish the stream for those who are just now what we talked about. getting really. One thing I have managed to do is get some prescription reading glasses. Whereas before, I used to have to wear 2 pairs of like these, my prescription glasses, and a pair of reading glasses. But now I've just got prescription reading glasses. Can't actually read anything, but I can paint that. But reading glasses is a great way to have magnifiers and it. For some reason with Tor Garadon I've done things backwards. I usually wait to do the yellow armour last, after I've done the smaller details. I think I was just eager to get this guy done. What is my favourite colour to paint? My favourite colour is yellow, but my favourite colour to paint is actually probably yellow as well. I think it's seen as such a difficult colour to paint. I've spent a lot of time trying to become favourite colour to paint. I think I've tried to do it in so many different ways now. I think I've mastered it. I feel like the way, sort of like the steps to how I paint things, doesn't really matter what colour you paint. Follow all the same steps. But yeah, yellow's like my favourite colour to paint, and you know what, white as well. I think any colour that other people find difficult, enjoy painting, I think maybe is a flex. Isidore Orion. I'm sure I'm waiting for the next miniature showcase, as I sadly missed the last one. As of right now, working on a highly thematic Bone Splitter army, Orc Stomper, Mega Gargan. That sounds amazing. You can, as I say, you can send pictures in now, but carry on working with it. I will 100% do a showcase towards the end of September, because it's another way of giving back to you guys who watch the videos. I think it's a great way to encourage others as well. See what everyone else is working on in the community. Glad that I haven't done one in. So I'll definitely do one towards the September. So anyone watching this, get working. King Mink, Nids or Orcs? I have a very sort of soft spot for Orcs. Whereas I've not done a lot of Nids. The only Nids I've ever painted are things you've seen me paint on the channel. Something I want to change. I've pretty much got a Nid army ready to paint. Again, it's just finding the time. But I've had loads of Orc armies, I've painted loads of Orcs. Got a nice looking Orc army currently. I think Orcs have the most character and fun lore about them. And if you're someone who's really creative and you just wants to sort of be haphazard and get into the hobby and just sort of be messy and just enjoy being all over the place, Orcs are great. They're very forgiving. You can do a lot with Orcs. You can just get away with some base colour washes and a dry brush, and even any mistakes. Even when it comes to version, you can stick random bits in places. It makes sense. And the range as well. I think the only range of miniatures bigger than the Orcs are the Space Marine. And I wouldn't be surprised if Game Workshop will be releasing even more Orcs. So they're just great for hobbyists in general, even for people. Did you see the size of the new Dreadnought in the Horus Heresy box? I did. It is massive, and the Terminators are actually the size of Dreadnought. So they are quite big. That's probably why it probably makes the box worth getting just for those. Good way to get them. I think there's no way that getting that Dreadnought in a box on its own isn't going to be the same cost as. Although the release box is £200, can be quite expensive generally. Yeah, so the showcase. If you haven't seen the showcase I've done in the past are all the live streams I've done are on the channel. There are some showcases in that, and you'll see the sort of approach that I take with it. I like to encourage and sort of point out what I think is great about the miniatures. The only time I will critique some, if maybe I'm more familiar with your work, maybe you've shown it in the Discord or shown it in a previous showcase, or if you've asked for it. You have to remember a lot of people are new to the hobby. Expect them to be amazing. But usually, generally, what you can see is potential where they have worked really hard. Although the execution isn't 100% there, you can see the enthusiasm and the attempt, which is more important than the. I love the silliness of the orcs. The nids are scary though, oddly not that hard to paint big nids. I've managed a Psychophage and a Hive Tyrant. Yeah, that's what I think I like about the Tyranids. It's because they're very organic. They're very different to painting a lot of the miniatures in 40k. A lot of other miniatures are obviously like Space Marines. These guys are very sort of angled, got a lot of armor. Whereas Tyranids are completely organic flesh. They actually do lend well to a lot of washes, dry brushes and glazing. That should be a lot easier to paint. They've got less details. At the same time, Tyranids more adventurous. I'm trying to put character in those simple details. So with always got the Tyranids on the shelf over here. I like them. So with the Tyranids, even in the same sort of with the Leviathans, there's different ways to approach the Leviathan scheme with different tones of armor. But with the Psychophage here, the one thing that I really enjoyed painting about this guy was not only just the brain, but got like this sort of psychic effect around the brain here that you can do. Now I'm not saying mine doesn't even look that good, but the fact that I've attempted it and it looks somewhat okay, looks impressive to most people. But it's not gonna win any competition. Again with the glazing here, like got go to town with the armor as well. Was you have to again just for like washes, paint detail. So if you're a traditional artist, like painting details with a brush, sort of apply that to got the glazing on the moor as well. All this sort of colour shifts. Glazing, like Tyranids are great for learning to glaze. Or the colour changes get darker on sort of like the armoured stacks. Even if you approach them in a very simple way with just sort of highlights, washes, they still look great. And then you can sort of be more adventurous after. These guys here, I haven't done it. Just got a lot of character to them. I just love the Tyranid range. Halhaggis, I'm thinking about painting up an Ironjaw's army for my big brother's Xmas present. No washes, no dry brush, and metallic metal, just for a challenge. That's a big challenge. I have a goal on the channel to paint up the Ironjaws. Not sure what the equivalent of that box. They're called Vanguard box. Spearhead called. I want to do paint up an Ironjaw spearhead box. The channel. But that'll be using a mix of contrast paint, acrylic paint. I think you can achieve really nice looking miniatures with Ironjaw. But that is a great challenge. Good luck to you. I'll probably get started tomorrow. I'm gonna be honest. Dry brushing or colour metal. Me personally, orcs, wild orcs in my case, are also much easier to paint. My last time, Lumineth. Yeah, I love the bone splitters. Unfortunately, that's a range that isn't available currently, but I'm excited to see it return for the old world. I'm desperate to have a Jork army. As I say, like that range isn't available. It was just bad timing. I literally had a list ready to go. I was just about to get some announced that moving it from. But I've hopes that it is a range that will return. Not worried about. It obviously exists in it. I can only imagine that it's probably going to come soon, maybe towards Christmas. Because they haven't. Well, I feel like there's two armies that they can count for the old world next. That's either Chaos Dwarfs or the Pirate Vampires. I don't know what they're called in the game. Total Warhammer. But I think they've alluded to it at last. Yeah, they did. As a sneak peek. Yeah, the Prime. Yeah, these guys are from the tutorials on the channel. So if you like the look of these, show you how to paint tutorials. And even if you don't want to do everything in that video, it'll just give you, hopefully it might inspire you. Washes and dry brushes can be essential, but we should never rely. Alzy, enjoy your tea. I'll probably be on for about maybe another hour or two, depending on how sweaty it gets. As for the War Stomper, it was relatively easy as well, although I did a highly specific look for mine, a sort of magma, fire slayery look, but I'd say it's still easier than LRL. You'll have to tell me what Al stands for. I'm not very good on abbreviations. Stephen, yeah, you do need to. You're painting a lot of, or you're basing a lot of stuff up. As I say, when you come around to painting them, I'll gladly. And you even got the cafe box. Yeah, I know a few people got the cafe box. That sold out really quickly, which is a good sign. The old world hobby. I feel like everybody who wanted it got it. I didn't get it, unfortunately. Got to. Too busy talking. I'm just all I'm doing here now, where I'm painting some of the Black Legion, I've obviously got it on the armor in places, but you can easily tidy that up. A bit of Wraithbone. What we'll do is we'll use some Imperial Fist contrast, and you won't even notice. I feel like that's one of the main things that makes yellow difficult to paint, is to clean up mess areas. Pigment is very strong. It doesn't go over dark colours very well. This method's really great. Haggis, it'll probably going to take till Xmas to do, so the Iron Jaws, so what is it, July now? August, September, October, November, so that's what, about 5 months? I think you can do it. It is achievable. Make sure you've got a plan. Gonna have to excuse. Yeah, so at the beginning of the stream, for those of you just joining it, I was talking about where I'm at, and all what got planned. I think the biggest thing that will get a reaction is that I'm going to be doing exclusive content, channel members and patrons, in addition to what I'm already doing. So it's not going to replace anything. I really want this, well, really want concentration to be viable, react to myself. At the moment, just getting by. Honestly, I don't want to be in a situation where I can't do this now because I have to go get a real job. Figure out ways to make... That's probably the most fairest way to do it. I'm going to be calling it the character series. Covering things that I wouldn't normally be covering for the channel. So there won't be general paint. So the first video I'll be working on is Gulliman. I want to produce a video like that once a month. May not even be that. As I say, it's not going to be a priority. The priority will be content that make TableTopReady. If I don't get time to do an extra video, I won't have time to do it. They'll be released. But those videos will have the option to be paid, be bought for £50, their price. I'll announce all that probably by the end of the Gulliman video. Yeah, such a shame for the bone splitters. I got lucky as literally hoarded every single average up off eBay I saw. But I'm just hoping that they'll be released, and I think it should be by Christmas. They're probably just reboxing it. Maybe with that release you might get a journal to have a sort of a different kind of list. Oh, LRL stands for Lumineth Realm Lord. Okay. In my head I was like, is that some kind of way to say object source lighting, or that, like... I love the Lumineth Realm Lord. Have I ever played competitively? I don't actually play very often anymore. I've not even played 40k in this or I only really play Old World at the minute. Not really a competitive person, more just sort of put some table and have fun. For me. But I do like the game. But the competitive sort of scene at the minute is a bit too much for me. I easily get too easily sort of demoralised, because I'm a painter at heart and I love painting the miniatures. I love seeing. I'm not really thinking about what's going to be the most competitive. I just like collecting. I want to paint. I have participated in weekend events, like local events, and at war. They have been a lot of fun, but I've never gone in there and expected to do well. I've even done the London Grand Tournament a few years back, and this was like in its second year. This was the year where it really sort of like fell short of expectation. It sort of firstly, it was just sort of like finished really badly, man. It's obviously a lot different now because they've gone away and learned from that experience, which is great. Fortunately, that year I did a bit off. Yeah, because you were just playing on tables with blocks of foam, and I think it was at the Aston Villa. Yeah, it must have been at the Aston Stadium. Rooms were just really cramped, very sort of narrow, long. Everyone was really. It wasn't, when it came to like food and resources. really wasn't much there, and there wasn't anything close by because it was out in the middle. But again, since that event, they've really turned it around. Better event, too big, on a good competitive. But some of the games I played in that were awful. I just took what I had at the time, which is Ultramarine. This was just as 8th edition coming in. So the Primaris was just the Primaris had just come out, so I didn't really have those. I just kind of had the old style Marine. I think one of the games I played against Al literally just got shot off the board in the first turn. Like this ain't game from. I played a game against the Custodes, and they basically had a turn in my turn. Every time I charged, they sort of counter-charged or stopped me from doing something. Again, it was just like had all the bikes. Custodes, man. When you play competitively, you have to be of the competitive, because you'll go in, it'll just be one-sided. You'll feel like there was no point even turning up. I've just given you a reason to roll dice. I've just put miniatures on the board and taken them off the board. I hate that. I hate me. It's been experience for both players. As if you go into a game like that, you're only going in with what you can take out of that experience. No matter who you're playing against, it's like, I want to win this, no matter what I'm playing against. As long as I can roll as many dice as possible. Fortunately, that's an experience a lot of people have. But it's always that, I think there's always been a side of that playing anyway. Yeah, I mean, if you've got a good group of friends who do the hobby, we're all on the same level of enjoying the hobby, then that's great. You're winning. I'm sure at some point when you go into like a competitive event, at some point you're going to be playing other people that aren't very good at it as well. You want to go there and roll some dice, so you just have to make sure you lose your first couple of games. If I had to rank current 4 armies based on painted difficulty, personally, easiest to hardest would be Flesh Eaters, Bone Splitters, Dwarf Mountain Hole, Lumina. Funny you try, like obviously you're an Age of Sigmar painter. I think Age of Sigmar, inherently the miniatures for those are more detailed. Not even do. Usually happen. But fantasy miniatures or Age of Sigmar miniatures, they're a lot more detailed, so there's a lot more material, flesh, say armor. I just feel like inherently there's no one miniature that's more difficult to paint than another. Just the amount of paint to do. What I find with, say, fancy miniatures or Age of Sigmar, me, when I'm painting personal armies, I'll always revert to cross paint. Just like I've done with these Imperial fists, because you can achieve a lot in a short amount of time. Don't get me wrong, I would love to be able to paint to a high standard for everything. I just wouldn't start painting a lot now, but at least when I do paint, I can get a lot painted. generally I've now decided when I paint my own stuff, it's going to be contrast. If I can do it more economic way with acrylic paints. So I think when I come to paint my Tyranid army, we'll continue it from how I painted it in tutorials, just because it's quite easy the way I paint on the channel. Everything else I use contrast. So I've got Raw Boys, I've done Steel Fists again be contrast. Although to be fair, the dwarves were my first army ever, so they don't look as great, but I still play with them. Yeah, it's still a painted army, so I wish I still had a lot of my armies. Somlique, I hope I've said that right. Welcome to the stream. Hi Michael, I painted my first miniatures thanks to your introductory video. Thanks for putting tutorials out here. You're very welcome. I love, like, biggest videos for me I love doing are the more introductory videos. So I think the last big one I did obviously the range of Age of Sigmar sort of beginner video showing you how to use just the toolbox, the paints and tool set, paint the starter box, which I was really proud of. I just wish people knew about it. Before that I did the Kill Team box. But yeah, they're some of my favourite tutorials that I've made on the channel because they're a great challenge. So I put myself in the sort of like the mindset of I just started the hobby. I want to achieve as good of a quality what I see on the box, but with what I have available. Probably the best I have. That's why I like the paints and tool set, because it's already a great place to start. You have everything. It sort of limits you, but it limits you to what you can set. You can get really creative. I was really proud of what I could achieve with the Haven side of stuff. It did involve obviously mixing the together, which ultimately I'm not a huge fan of. And the reason for that is just for I'm late. I'd rather have a pre-mixed pack I can get to, not worry about it being the same for as a traditional artist, obviously, do mix your work on the and your paint in. I feel like it's quite a current or a disadvantage, especially if you want to enough. That's why for the videos I always make sure it's always at least 50-50 mix, like a nice, instead of going, well, it's 7 parts of it, 4 parts of it, this parts of that, and 2 parts of it, parts of it. A first army was Nid, Space Marines, and starter kit. I started adding other units and stuff now that have 2 1,000 point armies. However, I wish there was more starter kit for the same style. I agree with you there. I think they tried to do that with the combat patrol boxes. Well, right, they should try and do that for a lot of things. Somlique, you'll have to tell me if I'm saying that, what it means. You followed it to a T, even rolling up the cardboard into the handle. That was something else I was quite proud of coming. It is handy to have some hold on to whilst painting. So you're not putting your finger fine. It's easy to easy enough just to roll up cardboard. Well, so I just wanted to try and build the habits straight away, but nothing looks odd or alien when you watch my other videos. Did I go to art school? I've always been creative. I did multimedia at college, which means I did like web design stuff. Then I went to university and I did computer animation. That's how I'm able to do sort of like all the overlays and sort of like the start and animation, because I've worked with like a lot of Adobe programs stuff all my life. Because when I went and did those, it was quite a new thing. So we're talking sort of 2006 I went to university. Yeah, I've always kind of loved that stuff and I've always been a bit arty. I suppose doing this kind of hobby, you are going to be that kind of. Isidore Orion, yeah, you're right on that. Age of Sigmar armies do tend to have a lot of trinkets, thingamajigs. I also agree with you inherently. A good point with that actually, you can make armies easy to paint if you want to. So if we go to 40k for example, say what's an easy army to paint? They're always like paint ones. Like you can spray it silver, you can do wash. But you can do that with any army. Like Space Marine. Spray them a colour, give them a wash, and just that people have taught other people that that's how you paint Necron. But any army you can make as simple or as complicated as you want. I would always advocate learn as much of the things as possible. You can always choose to paint things simply anyway. And you'll find at the low level stuff becomes easier, but looks good. But obviously you have to put the work in and practice. Like I showed some Imperial fists at the beginning, but these are very simply. So these are just contrast paints with some highlights. In all my videos I say highlighting best technique and I'll say that to anyone. Even more so than glazing. The other big thing that does make a huge difference that I see a lot of people don't really do is just try and keep your miniatures tidy and neat. Clean up mistakes. That's quite an easy to do, because even if you put base colours, as long as it looks tidy, like colouring a picture with and staining with the better. Dom. You would go crazy for any kind of Krieg data set. I do like the Krieg miniatures. I wish they'd been plastic Steel Legion. As you see, I've just got a few patches sorted on armor. Well, I've been a bit messy. So this is what I'm talking about. It's just going in and just going back and tidying things up. Probably makes the biggest difference. Still very Where's everyone from? Are you all okay? I get actually a lot of people. I know difficult. Like GMT time zone is quite difficult. You can't accommodate for both time zones on either side. It's either one or the other's going to be asleep, side of the world's going to be awake. Difficult. I know I get a lot of people from sort of like side of the world. I know there's a lot of people in Japan and Korea, Australia watch my love. Not a great time. Not a great time to do live streams. Those guys involved. Scotland, UK. I do think that, for example, the Lumineth, well, mainly use white and gold with 0 speck of dirt, at least for me, inherently short. Drawn, painted and sculpted all of my life, got an HND and art and design and dropped out halfway through a degree in it. You know what's funny? Well, it's not that funny to be honest with you. But think about like creative courses, say like illustration, arts for example. People are probably more likely to drop out because they tend to find it hard to sort of commit to and struggle with structure that they haven't put in place themselves, especially if you're from the past where it wasn't such a big thing to accommodate for people, or even autism. Probably had a lot more people dropping out. Think about like what I'm doing now. We don't really got termination. Haggis, so you were a tattoo apprentice for a short while, but COVID kind of killed that off for me. Hopefully you're able to. Parker Plays, I love your tutorials, I learned so much, and thanks for the psychophage video, as I've done an amazing psychophage. Glad. I love, as I say like before, I love a challenge. Psychophage is definitely one of the challenges. So I always look at like other tutorials that are available, and I always feel like other channels like to play it safe. But I believe that you can achieve great looking, very straightforward, simple way. I don't know, I've got the psychophage here. The one thing I really wanted to paint with this guy was the two little. I don't know if these do anything in the game, is the markers, because I love the colour of the brains on these guys. I couldn't, so it was fun sort of coming up with how to paint those. Love the character and colours. Again, I was just sad that it wasn't a very popular video that people watch, but glad I did it. Another sort of challenge that I'm enjoying at the minute, if you're here at the beginning of the stream, my next tutorial for next weekend coming out, I'm working on the Votan. Because there actually isn't a good tutorial for the Votan on anywhere, especially for the box colours. And if you had to look it up, how the studio painted it, it's very complicated, very convoluted. So I've simplified it. Kind of in the same vein as if you've watched my Gene Stealer support video, that's quite a complicated colour scheme. I feel like I knocked that one out of the park. I'm doing a Thunderkin just because I can show a bit more than just say like an guy. Means you should be able to paint a lot because you've got like the dark green armor. So this guy is going to be out for next weekend. I'm really happy with how the guys come. Again, I hope it's popular. I don't know if it is. I've had a lot of requests. I hope it's different enough to impress people. I know there isn't a lot of tutorials on Votan, unless it's sort of a homebrew scheme people have done themselves. But you don't tend to see the box. So I saw so I saw that as a challenge. But like I could. From Hungary, I would love to go to Hungary. Not a well-travelled person. I've not had any getaways, but I do like to do travelling. Keep up the good work. This is from Noah. Hello, welcome to the stream. Keep up the good work. I painted my whole Leviathan box using the tutorials. 1,000 points. Farsight Tau were almost finished. When you say Tau, I'm going to be doing Tau video. Hopefully. Been a while. I just don't know what I want to paint for the Tau. I've already got the captain on there. I'll probably do some. I wanted to paint Farsight for the channel. But I might make him part of the character series that I'm working on. Quarters. How many 2,000 point armies have I finished? Have I been armies? I think the only 2,000 point army I currently have are orcs. Probably pretty close to 2,000 point army with the Ultramarines I paint for the channel though. I think that's very competitive, kind of what I've got together. I think I like the idea more of doing 1,000 point armies, main game, 1,000 points. I'm not stopping painting, but I'm moving to contrast. Been a while since I've done any sort of competitive games. I think the last sort of competitive scene I've participated in was for Age of Sigmar. But as I say, it's just I go to these events, just sort of I'd leave and I'm going like that was not fun. Or that makes you hate. Ballistic, hello, welcome to the streams. Good to see ya. Never entered a painting competition. I think just because I just don't think I'd ever do that well in a painting competition. Now I've got to paint. No, I think it'll break my heart. I didn't do well in the paint. I don't want to put myself through that. No, I would love to see more Tal videos. There are not many, but I always love your paint style. I do want to do more. I've been meaning to do more Tal videos for a long time. I loved like the Tal Commander I paint. Still one of my favourite tutorials. Probably in the top 5. But the thing with, like, I can do the infantry, that's not a problem. But the thing with Tal, that you paint one, you paint for them. Like all the suits. Unless obviously I did different colour scheme. Or the different characters. But I have been playing with the idea of doing Tal content. Will. They'll need to do. There's loads of stuff I want to do. Go through them. Drukhari, got no Drukhari content that I really wanted. There hasn't been anything new from Drukhari by Games Workshop. They must be producing here. I think because they still need their range out. They're still dealing with really old models. They're a range that I want to do. They'll need to do some Mechanica. The thing about Mechanica though is that the colour scheme, the army doesn't really exist. Always found with doing flesh with filament flesh, you can overdo it because it stains really easily, so you really do want to make sure to sort of apply it, still making sure it gets into. If you overdo it, it can look too dark. You want to sort of try and get rid of the excess. There's a problem with contrast, it dries really quick, especially I think there's too much contrast in it compared to like the light flat areas, dark regions. Very extreme. Off-put. One way you can get around that flesh contrast is thin it down, contrast medium. Sorry, sound is a bit low. Probably because I'm not talking into the mic. Hopefully that's a bit better for you. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'd agree. Paint one, you've painted 100, but different sets would be awesome to see. Yeah, I've always wanted to attempt to do the original colour scheme for Tal. Because it is like the tan colour. It's quite an interesting colour scheme that you don't see on other armies. But I did like the challenge of painting the white armour as well. And believe it or not, in that Tal video that I did, that was my real first attempt at glazing. Before that, I hadn't really explored or tried it. But after that video, that's the video that gave me the confidence to do more with the glazing. And all I did with the glazing in that video was just to add weathering in areas. But it added so much to the miniature, and it was actually quite easy to do. So that was a leveling up video for me. And that was sort of an era where my painting was just getting better and better. I apologise for my nose, it's getting a bit red because all the blood's rushing. I've got a big nose. NASA Luta, I love your tutorials, hope to get as good as you one day, keep up the great work. I'm very flattered. Just understand that it's only really recently, since I've been working with the channel and making these tutorials, that I've really leveled up. For that, I feel like I was just okay, but I was never a confident painter, and I could definitely, there was definitely a lot to work on. So it's not like I've always been amazing at painting, and I wouldn't even say that I'm amazing. I'd say above average at best. I've still got a lot to learn, but the one thing I've loved about this channel is that you guys could join me on this journey, and I'm actually teaching myself to paint every time I make a tutorial, because a lot of the time, unless it's a repeat tutorial, say like here's another ultramarine tutorial, usually it's something new that I haven't painted before. So for example, the Votan miniature that I've just shown, I've not painted a Votan before, and it's dealing with a lot of colours that I wouldn't normally think about, because there's a lot of colours on that miniature that aren't available just as paints. It's having to come up with mixes, which takes a lot of tinkering and trial and error, and coming up with ways to sort of replicate the box art as well. Because usually then what I find, when I feel I'm confident that I can paint a miniature to a high level, I then challenge myself to paint it, I wouldn't say to a low level, but I'll then try and achieve the best I can with min-maxing, I would call it. Minimum effort but maximum impact, which is, I feel, my ultimate style, my final form. And the Imperial fists are a good example of that. So they're actually really very simple, and I'll say, like the Kill Team video that I've done to paint Imperial fists, you can see how I've painted them in that, and the Pallet hand for the Death Guard tutorial as well, I was really proud of, and they're just using contrast paint. But again, I like to be able to paint to a high standard and then be able to replicate it in a more straightforward way. That's why I've liked sort of replicating the box art, because that's painted very extravagantly. If you ever go to Warhammer World and you see these miniatures in person, you can see why they're the best miniature painters in the world. The pictures don't do it justice, because you don't see all the nuances and just the minute differences and changes in colour tone and the glazing. It's mind-blowing how they can achieve it. Like some of the highlights you see these guys doing, it's like surgery, like so fine. Whereas if you put my best efforts against theirs, it'd be like a caveman trying to paint a miniature, if you ask me. But one thing I like about what I'm able to achieve is that I believe anyone can achieve it, and it's easy to teach in a video, I believe you can get some really great results. Because I believe if I can do it, I believe anyone can do it. Yeah, I do want to visit Hungary. Yeah, and if you do come here, I'll definitely go to Nottingham and go to Warhammer World. I've been to I haven't been in a couple of years, but I used to go quite regularly to Warhammer World, and I would go there, especially because it reinvigorates your love for the hobby, and you remember why you enjoy it. Parker plays, is there any faction that you reckon you wouldn't be able to paint, and why? I wouldn't say there's a faction that I wouldn't be able to paint. As I say, I feel like you know all the techniques and the tricks, you should be able to paint anything. But if there was, I feel like there would be a faction that I might be quite intimidated to paint. I'm going to be honest, I think Votan have been quite intimidating for me. For the reasons I've just sort of said, is the colours that they've chose to paint on, the colour scheme on the box. When I taught myself to paint the Tyranids, that was a process. They were quite intimidating. Because they were so simple, but they had a lot of character, and I could tell they were going to take a lot of glazing and new techniques that I hadn't really done before, especially the psychophage. Because it becomes more difficult if I go and do some research on how other people have painted it, and there's no sort of like explanation of how the studio's painted it, or no one's painted it in a similar way. I kind of have to go from the ground level up and sort of start from scratch, sort of figure it out. But this winged prime guy was actually, there was 3 attempts of painting him. So what you actually see, the Tyranid you see in the video, is actually shots of 3 different winged prime miniatures. Because I'd get so far and I'd mess up. But luckily I bought a bunch off eBay for cheap, because they're all in the starter boxes, obviously. But yeah, I'd get so far. Another, like someone mentioned the yellow armored Meganob earlier, and that was literally like my 4th video. That took a couple of attempts. So sometimes the tutorials that you see, there's multiple attempts to finish that video. Because I might get to the end of a miniature and I'll be like, this isn't good enough. I feel like I could do a much simpler job, do a better job. So I'm always thinking to myself, will the person watching this, using this tutorial, be able to achieve what I've shown? Another example of that is the Gene Stealer video. I scrapped the first attempt for that because I wasn't happy with them. But going through that process, I figured out how to do it in a much simpler way. So yeah, I do get intimidated by the thought of painting certain miniatures, but I always like to give it a go. And I think it's better to attempt things we think are going to be difficult, because that's when you learn the most. even for the Ultramarines, the reason there's so many Ultramarine tutorials on the channel is because they've always added something different every time. And so far, I think the Ultramarine Terminator tutorial is probably one of my favourites, because it's got some really great sort of ideas and techniques in that. And then you sort of bring together that with the Ultramarine Terminator Captain tutorial. You pretty much got two videos there that cover a lot of great stuff in any miniature, especially character level miniatures. Yeah, so it's just how much do you want to push yourself. Currently using Cadnam Flesh and Guilliman Flesh Tone for Prime Tyranid wings. I'm not sure what Cadnam Flesh is, but yeah, you can achieve like this effect with contrast. Like you can feather it out. I haven't got anything to show a good example. If you've got, say, contrast medium, you can thin down contrast and treat it like a glaze as well. So you can start, like if you're trying to achieve this, I would always start light and work your way to the darker areas, because it's easy that way. Cadian, I thought you meant Cadian, but I didn't want to assume. So I'm assuming you do a Cadian layer and then Guilliman Flesh over that, or you've used the Guilliman Flesh to create the darker tones at the bottom. But yeah, you can turn anything into a glaze, even if it's contrast. If you want to know a secret, there's so much super glue trying to keep these wings in, because I keep breaking them off. So it's not actually that pretty underneath. I don't know if you can see. So like round here. Which is actually one of the issues you have if you're doing sub-assemblies. It's trying to stick them together. But sometimes they just don't go together. Then you end up, starts getting messy. What other like when I was painting this guy, don't know if you can tell, I've managed to clean it up quite well. Don't think it's too dark. This arm here kept breaking off here. Every time I tried to paint it, and it was starting to get frustrating, so I just ended up super gluing it, leaving it for a day, and I had to sort of like tidy it all up and clean up. So it does happen. Nothing ever goes to plan. Like things break. I have to do different attempts at things, but just know that you end up with tutorials that I'm really proud of. Tyranids, I believe your Tyranid's amazing, in some cases better than the box. However, I do understand what you mean. Yeah, it's because as I say, like I've had different attempts at them, and the Tyranids were probably the biggest effort put into tutorials. Because I hadn't painted them before. Well, I had painted the Leviathan scheme before, but it was the old, like, very plain vanilla scheme that they had. Whereas when they came out with this new, I feel like they leveled up. Even with the Ultramarines, how they were painting Ultramarines before this edition, was completely different. That's why I was excited to paint the Leviathan box. because they'd up the standards that you saw them paint. And that was intimidating to then have to sort of push myself to match that even more. Even though I'd painted loads of ultramarines before, then see, oh, they've upped it, and now I had to up my game match. Yeah, layer first, then contrast, which is great. But what you could do is you could just leave the Gullman flesh lower and just leave the Cadian flesh to the top, because with the wings you don't need a lot of contrast. So like here, you could just sort of leave the last third just as the Cadian layer, then just do the Gullman flesh lower, and then you could sort of like use your brush to draw out the Gullman flesh further up, just to sort of thin it out. In the future, obviously, you've already done it, but that's like a nice little trick you can do, a simple trick. Untipo Pintando, I'm sorry if I've it's good to see you in the stream. I know you comment a lot. I always enjoy seeing your comments, so I do appreciate it. Welcome to the stream. I do want to stream a lot more. It's just been trying to figure out my life, I suppose. I've got a lot of plans for the channel. Eric, what kind of camera do I use to record at the desk whilst painting? So what I'm using here is a Lumix. It's an old camera. The main thing that I wanted from a camera when I bought one was that it shot in 4K. So with the videos, I shoot in 4K, but I edit in 1080. But it just means you get a better image, and I can zoom in, and that's how you can get good shots. So if I'm I'm filming in 4K, I can paint down here, but because I edit in 4K, I can sort of zoom in, and it'll look really good up close like this as well. Obviously, you'll see like I'm filming in 1080 here for the stream, and this stream's going out at 720, so it might not be as crisp, but I film in 4K, edit in 1080. Yeah, one thing I've noticed with this plastic here, with the injection molding, in some places where, I don't know if you know how injection molding happens, but with a lot of the time, the liquid plastic's coming in from different directions. It's not just coming in from one angle. But a lot of the time where the two sort of what to say, like where the two lots of plastic meet in the middle, they won't stick together. So a lot of the time they tend to break quite easily, and it always tends to be on really like staff holes or something that's really awkward. It's always those areas where maybe the plastic can't get in as easily, which can be frustrating. There's not always that the plastic just breaks. Sometimes there's just sort of like a natural sort of cool bit in the plastic that it's going to break anyway. Do you have a tip for contrast, like Apothecary White? It always goes too grey. Feels like I put too much paint on the brush. Is it better to do 2 to 3 thin coats, or how do you use them? If you feel like you have any shades or contrasts that are too strong, I would just add these to it. So with the Apothecary White, you could add a small amount of contrast medium, and it will just thin it down a bit. And then if you're using a shade, you could add some Lamy medium. And really the only difference between these two is the drying time. Contrast medium dries a lot quicker than alarming medium. That's the only real difference. Another thing you could do, instead of doing an overall wash, you could just apply it into the recesses directly. So I used to do a lot of Apothecary White over Corax White in my videos. I don't really do that now just because of the same issues you've just mentioned there. You'd end up having to clean up. So if I'm doing, say, white, any kind of white details now, especially just like armor, I'll do a recess shade. So you can either use, say, like Carrick Stone, or you can use something like Blue Horror, depending on if you want like an earthy white or a cool white. But yeah, if you ever find anything's too strong, thin it down with one of those mediums. I wouldn't tend to use water if you're thinning down something like that. The only time I would use water is obviously thin your paints normally, obviously. But things that you wouldn't normally water down when you use them, I'll try and use the mediums. The only time I would use water is to glaze, which doesn't affect it too much. Would I recommend a camera that records in 4K? I plan on streaming in a little bit. I only have a camera phone which does not do close-ups well. If you stream in, as long as it does, like right now, you have to think about what can you stream out to. And I feel like with streaming, if you're just painting, 720 is actually okay. You have to think what other people are capable of watching. Because not everybody has the best internet. Because the only time you really want to stream in 4K is, say, maybe like a computer game that looks good in 4K. I would stream out in 1080, but my internet is too old. My computer isn't that great, so it has trouble processing. So I just film in 720. If you're filming for a tutorial like I would make on TableTopReady, I would recommend a 4K. But you have to, it depends on what phone you've got. Most phones these days are better than a lot of digital cameras and do film in 4K and 8K just on the phone. But phones are actually more expensive than cameras. And if you are, especially if you're starting out new, you don't need to buy brand new. Like all my electronics that I have, like all the big stuff, even my computer, this microphone, my cameras that I use, they're all refurbished. And I've been using them for 5 years and they're still what I use now. Like I've not bought anything new. There's no, like even like moving forward, I'll still just buy refurbished. Just because as long as it functions and does what you need it to do, just because it's got a couple of scratches on it makes no difference. And if I save £300, then I'm all in. So I think the camera, the 4K camera I paid is the most expensive piece of equipment I've paid for, and this was £400. And to me that is a lot of money. The computer I'm working with is refurbished, and it's not the best computer either. I think it's got like 16 mega RAM at best. The laptop, again, that's refurbished. Paid £400 for that. Especially when you're starting out, just get what you can afford. As long as you decide what is the minimum thing you need it to do. That's how you should really approach the hobby as well. It's like always just work from a base level, and then when you can, you upgrade. But if you've got a phone, then start with your phone. Thank you for subscribing. One thing I need to figure out with OBS is how to get the sound back up. OBS has gotten so bad over the past couple of... It doesn't give me a feed of alerts anymore either. Yeah, so if you want to stream and all you've got is your camera phone, do it with your camera phone. Because what if you go away and you spend, say, like £500 even just on like a refurbished camera? You think to yourself, I don't actually like to stream, and for making videos you might need something completely different for that. So just do it. Just do it. Don't worry about what you've got. I just knew that I wanted a 4K camera because I tried making videos with just a 1080 camera. I've got a little Sony camera which I use to film myself in videos. That's what I had before, and I just wasn't happy with just the 1080 because I couldn't get the quality. I found that when I filmed in 4K, I could work with the footage better. Any alternative paints aside from Citadel you'd like to try, and what comes to mind? Yeah, there are loads of great paint brands. The biggest one for me is Vallejo. Is a great alternative for Citadel. And that's the paint range I would say to anyone is to try out if you didn't want to invest in Citadel paints, is to go with Vallejo. Because they're great quality and they're a great price as well. And if anyone ever wants to follow my tutorials and they don't use Citadel paint, you can look up on Google a thing called a conversion chart. That'll just give you the equivalents of each brand of paint, compare it to what Citadel colour is. I wish Citadel had the dropper bottles instead of the paint pots. Personally, I prefer the pots to the dropper bottles. I know the dropper bottles everyone raves about, but I feel like that's because everybody just goes on about them. Just an inherited opinion is what I'd like to call it. Because there are problems with the dropper bottles as well, but again, it's just personal preference. I've heard rumours that the Citadel paints will eventually probably go to dropper bottles, either next year or the year after, or at least there'll be a range of dropper bottles. They'll probably introduce them and have like a dropper bottle range. But I just don't think the Citadel paint's too thick for dropper bottles. You'd have to change the paint formula for it to work. Personally, I prefer the pot. I'm not a fan of Army Painter paints. Tried them, I don't think the quality's there. I think the marketing's very good. And they're a great range of paints for anyone coming new into the hobby. But again, I would recommend Vallejo paints over Army Painter paints. That's my hot take. Yeah, so add in medium and trying to aim for the recesses. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to add some medium into your shades or contrast, you can just go over the whole area still. It's just that if you didn't add any medium, you could go for the recess shade approach. Yeah, if you want to show if anyone wants to show miniatures, you can send me an email with the pictures in, and I do get quite a lot of random emails, so I do try and keep on top of the emails, but I might not get to you straight away. And if you wanted some feedback or critique on that, you'd have to you need to ask an email that. As I said earlier, I plan on later in September, I plan on doing another showcase to show off people's miniatures, but I'll make sure I tell everybody that closer to the time. We'll probably finish up now, probably like in about 10 minutes, so I'll probably just recap about what we've talked about earlier in the stream. Thank you everyone who's joined me, who's been here throughout the whole stream, and those are people who've just come in recently. I really appreciate it. So there are some changes happening to the channel, not huge changes, more addition to the channel. I tried out weekly content, as I said earlier. I'll just recap those who weren't here earlier. Yeah, please send an email. I love seeing people's images. There's also the Reddit. I don't go onto the Reddit as much as I like to, but if you look into the link of any video and even this live stream, there's a link to the TableTopReady subreddit. There are people now who post pictures as well, so if you want to share your pictures with the community, that's somewhere else you can share it. What was I saying? Yeah, so recently I tried out doing weekly content, which I've really enjoyed, and that was another challenge. That's helped me sort of progress and learn more about content creation. And sort of working to a deadline. But I am going to go back to doing a video every other week, just because I've got other content and other plans that I want to now work on. Now I've freed up some time. I've been talking a lot, my voice is now dying. So moving forward, I'm going back to the video every other week. So that's why there hasn't been a video this week. So you've obviously had a video every week for the past few weeks. So next week's going to be the Votan video. The tutorial after the Votan, I'm planning on doing the Blade Guard. And it's going to be another Ultramarine tutorial, I understand that. But I've always wanted to paint the Blade Guard. I love their aesthetic. I feel like there's a lot to teach. Not just because they're Ultramarines, but there's a lot going on with like the tabards and the shields. A lot of cool techniques with those as well. And they feature in the Space Marine game as well, which I think's quite handy. And you've just got to paint Ultramarines for the algorithm, I suppose. I am working on creating a new type of content. It is going to be paid content or exclusive content, depending on what you want to think about it. It's going to be for supporters on Patreon and channel members. So it'll be for anyone who's supporting the channel at £4 or more. So the elite tier, heavy tier, and channel memberships on YouTube anywhere like £4. And I'm going to be creating a character series at that level. So the first video I'll be doing for that is going to be Gulliman, which is quite an obvious choice. You will be able to pay for these tutorials individually for £3, I'm thinking, is the current price. I think that's the lowest price I can charge for on Patreon. And the reason I'm doing that is just so I can pay the bills. And they're kind of tutorials that I wouldn't paint for the channel normally, just because they're quite big miniatures that take a lot of time and effort to produce. And it just becomes more viable if they encourage people to join the Patreon and channel membership. It just makes more sense that way. So I'll be treating it as like the character series. So you've got Gulliman. I want to do the Lion. I want to do Magnus. I want to do the Necron Lord on the big floaty thing. I can't remember his name. I want to do a Norn emissary, so I wanted to do like the bigger miniatures. That not everybody wants to paint, but there will be enough interest for. But I'll obviously announce that as I've got more videos done for that. So I'm hoping to have the Gulliman video up and done by the end of the month, if not the beginning of next month. And that's why I'm choosing to do the Blade Guard, so it's a complimentary video along with that video as well. So again, the Gulliman video won't be available on the channel. It'll be only available to people who support at the £4 or higher tiers through membership and Patreon. As well, I feel like I've got enough. I've been working on a second channel, which is a lore channel, and it's called Archive Imperialis. There is actually a link on the TableTopReady homepage at the bottom. You can actually go over there and subscribe now. There isn't any content on there. I have shared a video with supporters already. I'm not sure when that channel is going to launch. It will be launched probably in the next few weeks as more videos are made. So that's now going to be like 3 kind of platforms that I'm creating content on. Is the lore channel. There's a thing about painting tutorials, and the reason I'm choosing to do lore channel is because there's no entry to enjoy the lore. Whereas if you're painting, it's a niche within a niche. Like a niche within a niche within a niche. Like the Warhammer hobby is already a niche hobby. And even if you enjoy the Warhammer hobby, not everybody paints or wants to paint the miniatures. And even in the painting hobby, not everybody wants to paint miniatures in the same way that I show in my tutorials. So the potential audience for painting tutorials just gets smaller and smaller, which is what I've struggled with probably over the past couple of years in pushing the channel. Because the channel's done amazing in its growth, and I think we're about to reach 75,000 subscribers. But it's not producing a lot of revenue or a lot of views on the videos. And I don't want to sound ungrateful, because I really am. But if I want to push this channel forward and grow the channel even more to give you guys even more, I want to invest in more and better stuff. So I need to start bringing in more revenue, which has been a struggle for the past couple of years, especially with even more painting tutorials coming into YouTube daily. It seems that YouTube itself is pushing new channels more than it pushes existing channels. So you're more likely to be shown a new channel's content than you would mine, which feels a bit unfair. You literally have to search for my painting tutorials. It doesn't get suggested. Like I look at the analytics, it's very rarely pushed people. Only people who've watched the content already, or if people have searched it. So I don't get discovered a lot. It's just hard to compete. So in a way, it's kind of like I have to sort of adapt. So one of that is to create more premium content. I have thought about painting on Twitch. I just don't think that's because the problem is that then I split my audience, so I'd have to go to a separate platform, whereas I've got quite a good following on here anyway. And you don't get a big audience for Warhammer on Twitch either. I'd rather put all my focus and concentration into YouTube, because there's just more different kinds of content like shorts, and I can live stream on here where there's already an audience. I just like personally, I love watching streams on Twitch, but I don't watch people painting on Twitch. A different kind of content works well on Twitch. I don't think painting content works on Twitch. It's a different audience. But I have thought about that. Eric, I am making a Buzz Lightyear Combat Patrol. I'm just searching for a 3D printer to print Buzz heads for me. I think there's a lot of... You'll probably find third-party company that'll can print stuff off for you. But yeah, I have thought about Twitch, but again, it's like the content I create, it's more produced content. I don't want to be live stream heavy or forward. I do love live streaming, but I love doing it on YouTube. I don't want to have to worry about then another platform. So yeah, but I just feel like it's only going to give you guys more content because it's an additional video. Now I can't promise it's going to be every month, but it's going to be at least like every 4 to 6 weeks. You'll get one of these grander videos, and it's not going to be a tutorial produced like a tutorial video. It's literally going to be more sort of like this, where I sit and paint and I talk about what I'm doing. So it's more of a painting lesson rather than a painting guide. So there'll be longer videos and they'll be going into more in depth. Terminator BS, you're in the gym right now. What are you doing? Hope you're doing legs. Legs twice a week, everybody. Legs twice a week builds a core. I've been hitting the gym quite heavily the past few weeks. I do like 5 days. I love the gym. I go every morning. Good for the brain and the body. King Mink, stick with it, Matt. Stick with, man. You have the chops to be a great miniature painter. You should enter a competition and make videos out of the steps along the way. I have thought about that. The thing that put me off doing something like that is just all the controversy with Golden Demon. And I feel like painting for a painting competition or painting competitively is a completely different way of painting again. And it's something you have to dedicate to, like that's something you have to specialize in. I feel like I sort of reached the maximum level of painting if you want to paint for an army, but any further than that you literally just have to stick to painting individual miniatures, and that's all you work on. So if you look at, say, Infernal Brush, he works off, like he's got a channel, but he sort of strayed away from the YouTube channel now, and he works through Patreon. I don't know if I think he's on Twitch as well, but he has a lot of paid content. But he obviously won the Slayer Sword last year, and if you look at his miniature and some of the pictures, it's mind-blowing. He's so talented. So if you've not seen any of Infernal Brush's content, go check it out. He's literally one of the best miniature painters in the world. That's not even an exaggeration. So he's got Patreon, so his model is paid content, whereas I kind of want to do like a variety. I want to make sure there's content on the channel, but I feel like there's room for paid content as well. But I have thought about a painting competition series, but again, it's not everybody wants to paint to that level. It's tough. Like I'll do videos to, say, like a studio level or box art level, as I call it, and that has less interest than something that's more accessible. And I learned that when I did the Corn Berserker videos. So I did 2 Corn Berserker videos, One was to a box level standard with all different kinds of highlights and interesting sort of techniques. And there was one that was painted in more approachable way with someone who's just wanting to paint an army. Obviously, the box art level one, the video did half as well. That kind of taught me what people are actually after. So I do try and pay attention to what people want. I'm gonna wipe them off. A lot, but it always changes. I can't paint anywhere near as well as because Infernal Brush used to be studio painter, used to paint for every metal. Like you watch him paint and he's so like perfect. He'll do one brush stroke, then he'll wash his brush, get some more paint, do another little brush stroke, clean his brush. Like, I ain't got time for that. I would have to give up YouTube, spend more time learning how to paint like that. I still don't get how you do the lights. They really look like a small glaze. Mine are just a straight line. Do you have an example of what kind of light you're talking about? I can tell you. We're talking about lenses, or we're talking about spotlight. I'll probably call it another like 10 minutes because I'm getting too warm now. So this, so you've got lenses, like eye lenses, weapon lenses, or something like this. You've got spotlights. Or you've got orbs or glowing orbs or something like that. Like on shoulders you have black, then it goes to dark blue, then light blue for the lights, like that. Just okay. So you are talking something like this, or something like this. So if you wanted a really good example of how to do that, I would go watch this tutorial of the Ballistic Dreadnought or Ballistic Dreadnought. But the simplest way you can do that, if it's red, you could do like a corn red base and paint it all the one colour. Then paint a line around the edge with, say, like Troll Slayer orange or Fire Dragon bright. And then just do a white dot, and that's like the simplest way to do it. It's just practice. Like I show it in this the Battle Sisters tutorial. I show it in this video. You've also got, I show it in the Apothecary video, which you can learn how to do white armor. And you've got little screens there. So there are a few good examples of at different levels that you can paint, like the screens and lenses and stuff. So I do recommend going to watch a lot of those as well. You could probably even go into my shorts and look through that. There's probably a few good examples in that as well. But again, really, it's one of the things that I'm still sort of learning to do well, is details like that. But again, it'll just come to come down to practice. Lukey, I've just pulled the trigger on the new Death Guard Combat Patrol. It's my first army after I bought the Ultimate Start set, and I've been following your tutorials. Do you recommend painting in sub-assemblies? So you've got the Death Guard Combat Patrol. It depends which tutorial you're following. So obviously I've got two. I've got the Pallet I, which is the bone coloured armour, or you've got the traditional sort of Death Guard green. When it comes to using sub-assemblies, it's a personal choice. You can get... I talked about painting Guilliman earlier. Because this is a character, this is one miniature, and I'll show you the sub-assemblies I've got for this guy. So, these are all the sub-assemblies I've got for Guilliman. I've got his body. But because all the pieces of armour that he's got cover a lot of details, I've had to do a lot of different sub-assemblies. You've got different bits of armour, shoulder pads, other bits of armour. You've got his backpack, his arms, weapon, two heads, like that's for like one miniature. But that's because a lot of these pieces cover up details and it's going to be quite an in-depth tutorial. But if I wasn't painting it through tutorials, I wouldn't have that many sub-assemblies. I'll probably get away with the minimum amount I possibly could. Let's say you're painting a box of 10 Space Marines. If you went crazy with the sub-assemblies, you could end up with like easily 70 different pieces to paint, and it becomes too overwhelming. So I would always try and aim for the minimum amount of sub-assemblies you can, is my thought on it. You don't even need to do sub-assemblies, especially if you're starting out. But again, it's just maybe try doing a character in sub-assemblies and maybe do a unit fully built. Just depends how easy it is to get to details. Yeah. It's always worth just practicing. It's not... Teach your brain to do something, you need to do the motions and actions to create those neurons. Yeah, sub-assemblies, even for a beginner, like, I would say just try it out. Like, what works for one person may not work for everybody. And it's probably a good thing that you're able to paint fully assembled and sub-assembly with sub-assemblies as well. It just means you're more versatile, so you're not just relying on sub-assemblies all the time. So if something comes along and it's fully assembled, you're not like, oh, I can't paint that. If you have the Death Guard green spray, how can I prime the mini? Just build it with a blue tack and then remove it. You can just spray the sub-assemblies, so you just mount them on here and you just spray it how you would here. Go watch my getting miniatures ready for painting. That sort of goes through the process of making the sub-assemblies and undercoating miniatures. Right, we've done nearly 3 hours. I always try and aim for like 2 hours. It's been quite a lengthy one. I've done a lot of talking. I think I'm losing my voice now. Wait. So I think we'll finish up. I knew we wouldn't end up doing a lot of Tor Garadon anyway, but an attempt was made. The next live stream is going to be in 2 weeks' time. Yeah, but I've read online if I want to glue them together after painting them, the glue will not stick since the paint is there. I wouldn't worry too much about what people say online. You can use, even if those connection areas have paint on, you can still use poly cement. It's just that the bond isn't going to be as strong, and you are likely to can affect the paint that's already, the hard work you've done if you get the paint in those areas. When I'm putting the miniatures together after I've finished painting them, I'll use super glue. So if you use super glue, then you don't need to worry about there being paint in those contact areas. But you have to understand, when you start looking online for people's opinions, they exaggerate. Like, oh, you shouldn't do that because of this. Like, not really that much of a big deal. But if you are worried about it, especially just starting out, I would fully assemble your miniatures until you felt confident to do that. Yeah, I use Tamiya super glue thin as well, and that's absolutely fine. If you are worried, you can just scrape away the contact areas, for example. So if I was to, so this flat area here, like this cape's going to be stuck on top like that. And if you're using, say, like Tamiya thin or poly cement, you can just scrape away a little bit. You don't even need to scrape away the whole area, just so there's some of the plastic showing in areas. That's enough. But the poly cement is actually, it'll still glue. It'll still create a good enough bond even if there is paint there. It'll just be a lot messier. So don't worry too much about what people say on the internet. Always try things for yourself. I wouldn't even listen to me. But yeah, Tamiya thin's good. People just worry too much on the internet because that's what they hear all the time. So don't worry too much. But yeah, what was I saying before? Yeah, we're wrapping this up. So in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be doing a live stream, and I'll give you an update on what I'm doing. Next Sunday, I'm going to be releasing the Votan tutorial. So make sure you watch that. I'll obviously be releasing shorts as and when I can. I'll be working on the Gulliman video. You probably won't see much of that because that's obviously going to be the supporters. I think the next 2 to 3 months for me, what the most important thing is going to be is consistency, making sure I deliver everything I want to do for you guys. So I want to do live streams every other week, and what you'll find is I'll alternate. So one weekend you'll get a tutorial, the off weekend where you don't get a tutorial, I'll live stream. So technically you're getting content every weekend still. On top of that, hopefully I can encourage you guys to become channel members or Patreon supporters, because not only will there be extra tutorial content for the more fun stuff like Gulliman, the Primarchs, the bigger character models for other factions, even like say Age of Sigmar. I'll do some Age of Sigmar stuff as well. You also get access to the Discord, and it's actually picking up a bit now. People are using it quite nicely. I try not to go in there too much because I don't want people to rely on me to be in there to create the momentum. I like to see the people sort of talking to each other. But that's a place where you can go if you support the channel. It's a place where you can sort of hang out with the other hobbyists who support the channel. But you'll also obviously see tutorials early. Often it's usually like 2 or 3 days before I release them on YouTube. I'll also do updates every other week. Well, not every, like a couple of times a week. So I'll always show like progress on what I'm working on. So like the Votan, I've showed a couple of days ago like what I've been working on with the Votan. And I'll also talk about future plans on there. So that's a third way. That's a third way to get content for the channel in the future. And on top of that, there's a future second channel with lore, which I'm looking forward to getting launched and out there. Because I love the background and the lore of. It is going to be 40k focused because that's probably what I like the most. But that channel is going to be called Archive Imperialis. You can actually go over there and subscribe to that channel already. The link's on the TableTopReady homepage at the bottom. Yeah, those are sort of like all the different ways that I'm working on to make sure I bring you guys more content, and to keep this channel going, basically. I'm excited. I think I've gained my enthusiasm and momentum and what's the word? The word is, well, I'm lagging now. Yeah, I've kind of lost my motivation is the word over the past few weeks. That's probably one of the reasons I haven't live streamed and why I've tried to push for weekly content. But this is sort of a different approach that I'm going with now. I think it's a lot better. Because foremost, I think my love is content creation. And that's what I want to focus on. And the more content I create, the happier I am. So thank you again, everybody, for being here, watching the live streams. Hopefully I'll see more of you in the live streams in the future, and you'll become sort of regular names that I recognise. And I know I see a lot of you who make content comments on the videos regularly as well, which I really appreciate. But for now, thank you very much. Make sure and go like all the videos, comment on all the videos. It helps push them out. But thank you. Again, next week is the Votan video. A couple of weeks time, the weekend after, will be another live stream. I'm not sure whether it'll be on the Saturday or Sunday. You'll find out on the day, I guess. But thank you again. I really appreciate you all, and I hope you all have a good week, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. See you later. I just saw George Wright's comment. I'm not sure when the new channel is going to be launched. Definitely in the next couple of months, probably end of September. And we're just working on putting some content on there at the moment. If you are a patron or a channel member, you do have access to a video on that channel. It's about who the Emperor is, which people have watched. So that's one way if you want to go check out a video already. You can join the Patreon for like £2 if you're interested in seeing what the content's going to be like over there. But there isn't a time for when that channel is going to be released. It'll be launched as soon as we're ready for it. But yeah, okay, just wanted to answer that. See you later.